Today I want to talk about how to find high quality clothing, but more importantly, how to find high quality clothing we'll actually wear. If you, like me, have ever been super excited about purchasing an item, only to find that a few months or years later, it's barely being worn and just sitting at the back of our wardrobe. If that sounds like you, stick around and I'll be sharing lots of ideas and prompts to think about beyond the basics like natural fibers and finding the right fit. I'm going to start off by talking about fabric. We all know by now that going for natural fibers is usually, not always, but usually the better option. And that's just because it feels more comfortable and breathable on the skin, usually wears a little bit better and lasts for longer. And that is why most people will prefer natural fibers. Beyond considering whether this piece is a high quality fabric is important to me because it can create a different silhouette for the item of clothing, and it can also create a look that may or may not align with our style. Giving an example, if I went out looking for a dark colored skirt to add to my wardrobe, there is a silk option that is fitted, very elegant in style. We've got a wool option here that is a little bit more substantial, so it kind of sucks me in a little bit more, and I don't feel like my tummy is hanging out as much. The wool leans a little bit more casual for me compared to the silk. The third skirt is another silk skirt, but this one is made from a silk taffeta, which has a lot more structure compared to the original silk. This is a much more elegant, polished, and feminine skirt compared to the other two. All three skirts here are actually very beautiful in quality, but depending on your body shape, depending on your personal style, so casual versus more elegant, one of these skirts you might wear all the time and it becomes a basic in your wardrobe, but the other skirt you might only wear once every few months, and it ends up being a little bit neglected because it wasn't quite the right fabric. This is something that I really pay a lot of attention to now, and just to give you one more example, I'm also going to show you these two pairs of pants. It's pretty much in the same cut. The yellow pair here I wear all the time because the material is more fluid, and because of that, it just feels a bit more subtle. And then the navy pair, because of the cotton poplin material, is a lot more structured, dramatic. So it's something that I wear once every so often. That is a difference that fabric can make. If you're looking to learn more about the properties of different material, there is a book out there called Textilepedia. This book includes a lot of different materials, and it basically tells you the properties of those materials. So good and bad, it will mention in this book. If I'm looking to add something to my wardrobe, the next thing I look at is the design thoughtful? So on the most basic level, the design should allow me to wear this piece comfortably without any issue. And let me show you an example where this is not the case. I have these shorts which I will soon be returning because it is so sheer that I really can't wear it even with nude underwear. It still shows through very clearly. This is a prime example of a piece where the design doesn't feel thoughtful. I understand using a lighter fabric for summer makes sense, but I should be able to wear it without my underwear very clearly showing. On the flip side, I have a couple of pieces here that I would consider to have good and thoughtful design that I want to share with you. This here is a blazer design that doesn't have any buttons. What I like about it is that the designer thought about this and they included an invisible button on the inside that basically holds this jacket closed. This then allows this jacket to be worn in two slightly different ways. You can wear it like this with the button done up and closed. If you undo this button, you can wear it open, and it definitely has a slightly wider, more open and loose shape to it compared to if you did the button up. Two slightly different looks, and then it also is more functional because it allows it to be closed. When it comes to this pair of white trousers from this brand called Urago, there is just a simple button on the bottom and then the extra bit of fabric. What you can do is to do up this button and take the pant from a wide leg pant to a pant that tapers on the bottom. And then I've just got my Tibi blazer here, which you can wear normally, but there's an additional button here on the side which allows you to cross it over and wear it as a more fitted jacket compared to the usual very oversized shape. All of these examples just included an extra button. I feel like the designer has obviously thought about the person wearing it and tried to give more versatility to the wearer. Something I've been thinking about lately is that high quality doesn't necessarily mean that it's the most practical or aesthetic. And this is a really big topic, but I'm just going to use one example of opaque clothing versus sheer clothing. A lot of the time when we find clothing in thicker fabrics, the fabric definitely feels nicer and like it's going to last longer. But it doesn't always mean it's the most comfortable, and it might not be what I actually wear the most. I have a top from Uniqlo which I've had for about 5 years. Over the 5 years, I've worn it so often because the material is really thin and it's also a bit sheer. It means that it's super practical to wear in the summertime over, a very opaque shirt. And the sheerness means that it has that really delicate and light look, which I also aesthetically like. If I'm looking at a piece of clothing and the material is really beautiful and thick, or if the material is a little bit too thin for my liking, this is something that I will consider, because at the end of the day, it's more important to actually wear the piece of clothing than for it to be super high quality and just hang in our wardrobe. I'm also going to point out that a lot of luxury brands actually do pieces that are sheer, and I think it's for the aesthetic. So with this, the row blouse, you can see that they've paired it with another white trouser, but the white blouse is a little bit sheer, and I think it creates more balance in this look. If they were both opaque, there's not a lot of contrast, and the outfit would be really, really kind of heavy and boxy. Same thing with this Tibi outfit. The top is really, really structured, so they've gone for a white pant that is a bit more sheer. I've actually tried these pants on, and it's a very smart design because it's got 4 very large pockets that basically covers up everything that needs to be covered up. This is not me saying that sheer clothing is amazing, but it's just something to think about, that high quality and how often we wear it doesn't always go hand in hand in this type of example. This is another good example actually, where I actually prefer this piece to be sheer and light in the look compared to really, really thick and opaque. It's currently winter in Sydney, so I just changed into something that felt a little bit more cozy. My next tip is to use the 3-word rule to decide whether something is your style and ultimately whether you're going to wear it in your wardrobe. So I've been seeing this 3-word rule everywhere on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, and it's where you describe your personal style in 3 words. If I was describing my style, I'll probably choose modern, feminine, and oversized as my 3 words. If I'm looking at a piece in store, ideally this piece will include modern, feminine, and oversized elements, but this is quite hard to come across. So what I do instead is just to make sure that the item can be styled in a way that then includes all of those adjectives. This is a good example of a piece that I feel like includes all 3 of my adjectives in the design of the item. This top is not oversized, but because it is so fitted, it is exactly the kind of piece that I pair with my oversized proportions. The shape of the neckline feels quite modern because of the unique shape. And then once I'm wearing it, because I'm showing off a little bit of that collarbone area, I feel like it gives my body shape quite a feminine look. So the design of this piece, I feel like really suits a lot of the aspects of my personal style. If I have another piece like this one, this piece is not exactly modern. It is actually very kind of vintage inspired. It is not exactly feminine either. It feels a little bit, too ugly for it to be like feminine and elegant, but it is oversized. And in my head, I can wear this with very modern pieces, maybe like a simple black skirt and then a patterned boot, and the outfit would overall feel modern to me. I could also wear this with a silk skirt on the bottom, maybe some heels, and pair it in a way that felt a little bit more feminine. I could really see how this piece goes with all the other components of my style, so it felt like something that would work. On the other hand, with a dress like this, even though it's very feminine, very oversized, I never feel like it could be as modern as what my style is. Even if I wore it with loafers and a blazer, it still doesn't give me the modernity that I might need for my personal style. For me, this might be a piece that I let go of because I just can't envision it being as modern as I want it to be. I speak for myself, but figuring out my personal style, learning more about what I'm drawn to before I purchase clothes has made a very large difference. Over the last few years, I've tried to be more honest with myself about how much I'm going to love an item over time. When I used to buy an item, I would convince myself that I love it right now, I always see myself loving it, and trying to convince myself of the purchase. Whereas nowadays, especially for statements or trendy pieces, I know that 1 or 2 years down the track, I'm not going to feel as passionately or as excited about this item. So I'm always thinking about how many ways can I wear this piece in different ways. And when I say different ways, I don't mean having a sweater or a top that you can pair with 5 pairs of bottoms and have these 5 outfits look more or less the same. I'm talking about different ways of wearing it where the function of the piece is slightly different. I'm going to take this jumpsuit as an example. If I'm wearing this piece all the time and I start to feel like I'm getting a bit sick of it, I can then layer maybe a crop knit over the top and basically only have the pants show through. This pant shape is a little bit slimmer than a lot of the pants I own in my wardrobe, so this jumpsuit repurposes really well as a trouser. Beyond that, because of this material, it has a little bit of stretch to it and it just feels like a very casual fabric. I can also see myself wearing this as loungewear. I will wear this working from home, going to the park, going for grocery shopping, like really casual things. This is something I can see myself lounging around in because it's comfortable enough. That's the idea I'm talking about when I say wear it in different ways. If that jumpsuit had really big sleeves, it would mean that it would be harder to layer with it and wear it in different ways, in which case it might not be a bad purchase, but I would just think extra hard. The same thing with this little crop blazer in my wardrobe. A crop blazer is a fairly trendy design. I really love the material and texture of this, and one of my favorite ways to wear it is actually as a layering piece between my base layer and my coat. Even after some time, I'm super happy with this purchase in my wardrobe because it does have that second way I can wear it. If I couldn't layer with it because of the shape, I would not be so happy with this item. Not every single piece needs to have this type of versatility, but there are some pieces that I look at and I just know that 1 or 2 years later, I'm not gonna feel exactly the same way as I do now. And it's for those pieces that I really like to check on the ways that I can wear it. To find clothing that I'm actually going to wear, it has to fit me in a way that I like. If we think about sizing, a cos size small versus like a Sazan size small are 2 completely different fits. Sure, they've kept the same body proportion in mind when they are designing, but how they determine what fits is very different. As I look for clothes now, I tend to be a little bit more flexible than I used to be, and actually consider taking a different size when I feel like something is off. A good example is with t-shirts. I actually have my blue cos t-shirt on the inside, and I usually take 1 size up. It gives me a really nice oversized t-shirt fit without actually purchasing the oversized t-shirt. The actual oversized t-shirt is way too much for me, and it also has longer sleeves, which I don't like. So instead, I just prefer to go with the regular t-shirt in a slightly looser fit. The same thing goes for shirts. If I buy an oversized shirt, usually they are so long, they're like knee length, and way too wide. Whereas if I just take 1 size up with my regular shirt, it gives me a nice, slightly looser fit without being too oversized for what I like. For brands that do more oversized clothing, for example Tibi or COS, I do often size down just because the sizing chart doesn't know that I'm shorter and petite. So going down a size often means that it's a little bit shorter, and that shorter length makes it a lot more wearable for me. These little adjustments in sizing can really take an item of clothing that is good and turn it into something that becomes more of a staple for me. This rule definitely doesn't apply to everyone because for some personal style, if your clothing is more fitted, then it really should fit well for it to look the best. Whereas for clothing that already has a bit more of a relaxed look, there is a little bit of flexibility there to size up, size down as you please. Next one, I feel like I've been struggling to explain, but it's basically to consider the nuances of a basic and to not purchase basics that are designed for everyone. If we think about a big store, if they release a collection of basics, they have to cater for so many people. Ignoring, the different sizes, there's also people with different style that they have to cater for. So feminine style versus more edgy style versus minimal, they have to do it all. And what happens is that those basics tend to not express any of these styles really, really well. I've definitely talked about this one before, but in the past, I would have a lot of basics that were truly basic. T-shirts with a really simple neckline, pants that were neither wide nor fitted, kind of somewhere in the middle. And I just owned a lot of clothing that didn't really have a strong perspective or wasn't specifically targeted at a personal style. I want to quickly reference my Pinterest board here where I save a lot of my favorite outfits, but on this board we see a lot of basics, but they're definitely not any basic. They're basics that I feel like are really suited to the overall style of the person, and that's why I love these outfits so much. This simple t-shirt here has a slight drop shoulder, it's got longer sleeves almost at the elbow, it's very boxy in fit, and if I was looking for a basic and I share her style, this is what I would be looking out for. This tip all comes back to the little details, for example, the shape of the neckline, the length of the sleeve, and these are the things that can make a piece really perfect for us or just not quite right for our personal style. This very last thing I want to share is something I only heard and learnt about a few days ago. In an interview with Amy Smilovic, the creative director of Tibi, she mentioned that from a designing perspective, when she designs something that she feels really good about at the beginning, it doesn't always have the longevity as something that challenged her at the beginning, and then she grew to love. I'm definitely simplifying and rephrasing that a lot, but it got me thinking about my own wardrobe. And if I ever try on a silhouette of clothing that feels really good from the start, it's probably because I've already worn that silhouette before and it's already in my wardrobe. If I purchase that item, sometimes what I'm doing is actually just adding more stuff to my wardrobe without furthering my personal style. If I try on another piece of clothing, one that I love and still feels like my personal style, but it just challenges me a little, and I need to think about how to wear it, how to style it, then it might actually be just adding a new perspective to my wardrobe. This idea I feel like is a really interesting one to keep in mind, just to make sure the clothing we add into our wardrobe is furthering our style, it's allowing us to create more outfits, as opposed to just duplicating things that we may already own and may eventually look the same. This one I feel like can definitely be taken too far, where we end up with clothing that is too statement and doesn't suit us. But I don't think that's what she's saying. I feel like what she's saying is that make sure the clothing you add is new and fresh and not a repetition of what we already have. Those were all of my tips on how to buy quality clothing you'll actually wear. If you guys enjoyed this video, I have a ton of other videos on my channel, including 20 summer outfits, which I posted last week. I'm also on Instagram where I share a lot of my outfits throughout the week, and I feel like I've been a little bit more active on there lately. So my handle is up on the screen and linked down below. Thank you so much for watching this video. I'll see you next week. Bye.